We're now in a new section of this Revit structure course, and what we're going to look at now is structural reinforcement, which is sometimes often known as reinforced concrete as well. What you do is you place structural bars within the actual concrete itself to strengthen the concrete and obviously support the structure above. What you would normally do is you'd normally work through something like a wall section. And at the moment, we're in the structural plans 000 ground floor. And if you look here, there's a new section in this particular Revit project. So in your working files that you've got on your DVD or on your download of this course, you will find a new Revit structure project. It's called Structural Reinforcement RVT. There it is at the top of the screen there. And you can see there's a new section in this particular project. Now, this particular section I've called W1. Wall 1 because it's a wall section rather than a full section through the entire building. If we scroll down in the project browser, you'll see as we come down to sections, we've got sections, building sections, there's our wall sections, and there's our section W1 retaining wall. I'll double click on it and I'm just going to zoom out slightly now. What I've set up in this particular Revit project for you is you can see we're working at ground level here. There's our ground floor level. There's our retaining wall. There's some concrete columns there, and there's also those isolated footings supporting the concrete columns as well. So what we'll look at is placing some rebar or structural reinforcement in those particular concrete elements. Now, you can only place structural reinforcement in concrete elements. You can't place steel bars in a steel column or a steel beam, for example. So it's normally concrete components within the Revit structure. Now, let's have a look at where we find all of this information for our rebar and our reinforcement. We go to the Structure tab on the ribbon, and you'll see there is a reinforcement panel in the Structure tab there on the ribbon. If I click on the little flyout arrow, we can set our rebar cover settings. That's the concrete cover for the rebar that goes into the structural reinforcement. And we've also got our reinforcement settings that we'll cover in more depth in a little while. I'll just cancel that now. And you'll notice we have rebar, which is planar or multi-planar rebar. So that's bars that go within the concrete. So you create a rebar steel frame and you pour concrete around it and over it to form the structural reinforcement. We also have areas of structural reinforcement. So this is like a mesh of steel that you might lay in a floor slab or a wall or a retaining wall. You can follow a path of reinforcing bars that are created perpendicularly to the sketch. So you can see there's the path. And obviously we've got fabric as well. We can have structural fabric. And that normally goes in things like slabs and walls as well, especially foundation slabs. And also here we can edit the rebar cover references of an entire rebar host. Now your rebar host would be your foundation, your concrete column, and so on and so forth. So you can see there, if you look in the little flyer, you can see the blue dashed lines there represent the concrete cover before you actually get to the rebar inside the structural reinforcement. As we work through this section, we'll be working very closely with the reinforcement panel there on the ribbon in the Structure tab. So let's go and look now how we create our structural reinforcement and how we place it into our Revit structure project.